Welcome back to Built by Bo. Today we're finally going to work on the 69. We've got the Caltrac's Calvert Racing traction bar set up, and we're going to remove the one that I made, and we're going to get this Caltrac bar set up so we can see if we can get rid of the axle hop. So I'll show you what I built and show you the Caltrac setup, and then from there we'll start getting the old stuff off and start the installation of the new stuff. So basically what was happening is, with the power the car is making now, I was running into an issue where I was getting axle hop and it would shake really violently, which is not good for any of the parts in the car. It's just going to add in something breaking. So I sort of copied the setup I found online, which was a traction bar setup similar to the Caltrac style. I removed my plate, I reinforced the plate, I put bigger U-bolts in and made the bar, kind of copied it to what I had seen. Of course, mine isn't adjustable in any way. It was just one bar, and then I welded a pad onto the torque box, and it's all bushed and everything. Everything was as proper as I could make it. So that seemed to work okay. I mean, it kind of stopped the axle hop, but what it didn't do, or what it did do, was it makes the car, when you hammer it in first and second and third gear, really put the power to it, there's a really loud snapping noise coming from the back, and I'm assuming that this geometry under load is not correct, or it's not flexing enough, or something is not happy. So I did some more research and found that Calvert Racing makes a Caltrac bar that is supposed to eliminate axle hop and this kind of problem, so I have ordered and purchased those. So this is the Calvert Racing Caltrac setup. So basically the same thing, nice big reinforced thick plate for the rear, goes under the leaf springs. It's fully adjustable bar, so you can adjust it for different length. Now we're gonna press out the existing bushing in the front of the spring pack, and we're gonna push in this aluminum bushing. It's gonna go through, essentially go through here and have a bushing that's gonna go back up in the spring perch. Your spring is going to lay across and have a slight air gap on top of the spring with this part right here. And that's going to allow some flex. And I guess when it starts to flex, this is going to push down on the leaf spring, which is going to eliminate wrap. So we'll see how this all works. The reviews on this setup is very, very good. So I'm hoping that this is going to fix the problem. So we'll start getting the old ones off. I gotta grind off the old mounts at the front of the torque box and tidy that up, and then we'll start pressing out the bushings and get going with it. So basically how we're going to proceed here is remove both the shocks, just the lower bolts. We're going to remove the 4 U-bolts from both sides. Just the U-bolts can stay in place because the new pads are going to go up and mount to it. The front eye bushing, and once I get that out, and we'll start cutting off this front eye perch that I had welded on the torque box, clean that all up, paint it, and then we'll get the leaf spring perch down and press out that bushing and push the new aluminum one, and then we can put it back together. So as you can see, the bar I made is quite similar to the Caltrac setup, except homemade, except that at the front it doesn't have that cantilever part, which is probably the part that helps against axle wrap, and it's going to probably eliminate the snapping sound. Okay, so I've got my mount removed. I just ground it up, put some primer on it, some black paint just to protect it. Now we're going to remove the front spring eye bolt. We're going to drop the front spring eye bolts down, and we're going to try and press out that bushing and put in the aluminum bushing, and then the Caltrac bars can start to be installed. At this point right now, there's nothing supporting the rear differential on the leaf springs, and if I drop down this spring, the actual axle will probably try and flip forward against the U-joint. It won't be stable. So I'm gonna put on the Caltrac pads on both sides, and I'm not gonna torque them up fully. I'm just gonna install them so the rear end can't go anywhere, and then we'll move forward with removing that spring eye bolt. So the GoPro said the memory card's full, but it's not, so we've got that emptying and got Sam figuring that out. So you want to position the jack underneath the differential and let the differential all the way down so it's hanging, and then just pick it up just a little bit. So you just want a little bit of tension on this front bolt so it's easy to come out. There shouldn't be any tension on this. Just like this. There's your bolt. Now we know we're in the right position, so it's not going to come slamming down on us. Now lower the jack down so you can access the front spring bushings. Once you have the diff lowered down a little bit and the front spring eye bushings are accessible, we're now going to try and press them out. I'm going to try using a ball joint tool. So now that's pressed out, in theory, we have these two pieces. We have the old bushing and the new aluminum one for the Caltrac setup. This should fit inside. And it's a little bit tight. Spring eye is a little bit rusty, so I'm going to clean it up with a flapper wheel. As per the instructions, you want grease or never sees, something to make it slippery to ease its way in. Okay, so that's actually quite challenging if you don't have the right tool. I do have it flush. Make sure that once you get it pressed in that it's flush on both sides. You also want to make sure that the centerpiece that goes in it still goes in it nice and smoothly. And my advice is to get the proper tool. The ball joint tool worked to get this out, and it did work to get it back in. It was a little bit of a challenge to get it started. My advice is to have a long bolt that will go through the spring eye and go through that bushing with 2 large washers on each side. Make sure that the bolt is threaded a long ways down, or you're going to run out of thread. And then just thread pull it in, and that will work awesome. And I did try that, and that's how I got it started. And then once I had it started, I used the ball joint tool to finish it off the rest of the way and get it flush. So from here, I'm going to go over to the other side. I'm going to press that one in, and then we're going to finish with the assembly of the Caltracs. Okay, so both bushings are now pushed in, and we're going to put some of the supplied lube that came with the Caltracs to lubricate the pin, and then we're going to try and fit the cantilever part of the Caltrac bar on. Once you have both the sleeves put in and the Caltrac set in place, as you can see here, we're going to jack it back up so we can get the spring perch bolts back in. So as per the instructions, what we're going to do is compress the suspension fully up so it's got all the weight on the back axle. And then we're going to adjust and hook up those link bars. And then once we do that, we're going to torque all the other hardware except for the link bar, and then we're going to adjust the air gap. Okay, I've successfully got the front spring eye Caltrac bar mount all installed. We're tightened up. Shocks are in, U-bolts are in, U-bolts are torqued, both sides done. Now we're going to set the air gap. So with the weight on the vehicle as it is right now, just off the stands, we're going to turn this bar down below until, you can see that bar up in there, moving back and forth. So what we're going to do is they say just to have a minimal air gap. So we're just going to set it at a minimal air gap like they suggest. And then you're going to move the jam nuts against it and tighten it up. I'll do the other side. Once again, we see the gear gap here on this side is large, so we're going to lower that back down just until it touches the leaf spring, and then we're just going to back it up just a little bit. And we're going to adjust our set screws, or locking nuts. Okay, I'm going to tighten those up, get the wheels on, and get it on the ground. See you after that. Welcome back. Well, we've got it on the ground. We're all assembled. We are going to go for a road test, but not today. It's starting to rain. I got to get the car in the garage here, and I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for tomorrow that we have a dry day and we can get out and try it out. Welcome back a couple days later. So we've got the car back on the ground now. Finally got a sunny day to try it out, see if we can get some traction with this thing and get rid of that snapping noise. The batteries ran out in my bike last time, so I didn't get to finish what I was saying, but basically after you've taken the car out for the first time, after you've messed around in the back end, you want to retorque everything that you've touched, make sure that that's all good and tight. Usually after my first or second road test, I'll check everything, and then after maybe 200 to 400 kilometers, I'll recheck it again. You don't want anything coming loose as you're driving down the road. That would be unsafe. So from there, we're going to take this car out and see if we can get some traction with it. Hopefully you come along for the ride, and we'll see you after that. Thanks for watching.